The rural way of life is about making everyone feel at home. Tractor Supply chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform intelligent customer service. Together, we put the power of AI to work across 2,200 stores, keeping things running seamlessly inside, curbside, and countryside. This is elevated customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Welcome to Birch Lane, where you can find a fresh take on classic furniture and decor. Every piece is handpicked and crafted to last for years to come. At Birch Lane, you can explore everything from outdoor sets to living room furniture and everything in between, and get fast, free shipping. It's classic style for joyful living. Shop now at birchlane.com.
Someplace underneath.
I can share with the world the knowledge that priesthood authority, the doctrine and ordinances of the New Testament church are once again on the earth. This is the most important work that we can participate in. Now to you who are graduating today and all other faithful members of the church, may I ask you to join the conversation by participating on the internet, particularly the new media, to share the gospel and explain in simple, clear terms the message of the restoration. Most of you already know that if you have access to the internet, you can start a blog in minutes and begin sharing what you know to be true.
I love Grandpa Joe explaining to me the internet. Can you explain Bitcoin to me and Twitter?
So what you just heard is a speech by Elder M. Russell Ballard, who we're going to be meeting again in the coming episodes, unfortunately, for not good reasons. And that was him giving a commencement speech in Hawaii, BYU Hawaii in 2007. And yes, it does sound a little bit like Old Man Yells at Cloud, but like explaining to people, young people who understand the internet better than him, what the internet is. But I do think that there is also something to take away with that beyond it being cringe, that he's by far not the only leader to have suggested the saints go forth and blog, but that those kind of messages being sent to young people in the year 2007 is the correct age of people who became mommy vloggers later on.
That's right. And in fact, I guess you would be pretty smart to be like, here's a piece of, technology that I don't quite understand, but I know it's going to be very influential. How about you young people, you go out there and you go do it and you figure it out and spread the word.
Yeah, sure. It makes sense, right? It's in itself not necessarily an insidious thing to say to kids, but I think maybe if you put all of it together with all of the different elders who have this message and kind of what they want people to say on the internet, it can start to sound a little bit sinister. Welcome to Someplace Underneath. I'm Natalie Jean.
I'm Amber Nelson.
So if you've listened to this show before, you've probably heard us bringing up something about mommy vloggers. We've talked about it a lot. Not a fan of it. It's a piece of our society that me, Natalie, I hope with all my heart will be analyzed more critically when we look back at this time period. I think it's really gross. And we've called this phenomenon parasocial exploitation on Spun. And it's because I consider it personally very exploitative of children's privacy generally when people are family or mommy vlogging. And when we've talked about it in the past, when we observe it, it's a lot easier to spot exploitation with certain kinds of family vlogging, like stuff we've covered, like, when we were covering family prank channels.
Yeah, isn't it funny? I told my kid we're going to Disney World and we're not. Let's film them crying.
Yes. And so, when you see those, it's maybe a little bit easier when like cruelty is right in your face and you're seeing somebody like Daddy of Five, for example, who's not LDS, but he lost custody of some of his children because of what he was doing on his channel. And then it's easier for people to go like, oh, this is not good, what he's doing. You shouldn't be slapping a little child and laughing. So family prank channel, cruel, it's easier to point and go, oh, this seems bad. But there is an entire microcosm of insidious exploitation that's masked under this beautiful image, this pretty bow, right? And when we first started covering social media trend that is mommy vlogging and family vlogging, the concern arose with the obvious culprits like the drama channels. But once you start to look at this clean girl aesthetic.
Oh, I hate clean girl aesthetic. I think subconsciously that led to like alt-right stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it absolutely upholds white supremacy. Yeah, 100 different ways. And I'm going to say, I think we can point to a lot of reasons that the church's involvement in family vlogging is also upholding white supremacy. But we'll talk about that more in another episode. And this clean girl aesthetic, the spotless white furniture, the row of smiling children with nary a hair out of place. I do find it personally a little uncanny valley. I do when I look at it. It does give alarm bells off a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Just because I've worked with a lot of kids. I ran lots of programs at my dance studio. I've never seen children behave in that way. It seems unnatural. But I also get why people like it, and it feels good. I mean, I've said I was an avid Duggar show watcher in the aughts, so I'm not judging the consumers necessarily of this kind of content. I do feel like I get it, especially children who consume this content because
like, it's chaotic at my house and, sometimes the dog doos on the floor and mommy drinks a lot. But if I turn on the Von Trapp family, they all line up in order and sing and smile.
Yes. And they all have their different they have their different poses that they do. Brigitte. And it's very comforting in that way, probably to a lot of kids in that situation. And that's true. I mean, people are very openly upfront about that I watched these channels when I was growing up because my life was chaotic and this felt really comfortable. If your home's dysfunctional, the appeal of these squeaky clean families is totally understandable. But the very nature of presenting that image, not as a child actor, not on a sitcom where you go to a sound stage and you perform in a theater, when you turn that into a child's personal bedroom, when you have to go into their private space to get that content, it seems like the moral conflict is pretty obvious to me, but I guess it's not. For some people, they don't understand that they're not watching a TV show still.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the boom? We got the boom. That's what we do.
I know of it. I don't know too much about it.
So there's this one kid that's like, he's not in the family. He's 8 years old. He's some other guy's kid coming to this family. And there's a video of him being lost at Walmart because he's kind of a bigger kid. So I guess it's okay to laugh at him. I don't think it is, but he's crying, being like, where's my mommy? Where's my mommy? And people are in the comment section laughing at it, Natalie. This is like a child in terror.
It's so bizarre to me.
I don't understand.
I don't. I really, really don't. And that is, God, it's so awful, dude. I just that's so awful to me. And then you go into these situations where they're doing a little bit less of that, where it's, yeah, we're in the kid's bedroom, but they're happy. Ugh. It seems like it's nice, Some people, I guess, don't think that that's a problem. And also, it's really, really, really big money for the parents. And some parents are able to justify these behaviors because the cash is just rolling in nonstop. Even since we started this season, there's been some positive movement in this whole thing because more people, I feel like, are looking at this with a critical eye and going, there's something wrong here. This feels dangerous and dirty and gross. And why do I know this kid's life so well? And so even since we started season 4, there's been a lot of movement. There's been an outcry to regulate these parents because they aren't willing to do it themselves.
No, California has a new law that the parents have to put a bank account in their kid's name if they're making money off the kid. And guess what? There's families moving from California. And the mom is doing like a come get ready with me to move to Nashville.
Oh, I know
Don't
who you're
worry,
talking
it's
about.
not because like the law. We just wanted more space.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, and guess what? It's also happening in Utah. It's happening in Utah because of people championing it, like the amazing Sherry Frankie, whom we've spoken of several times due to her experience as a vlogged child, as well as being an LDS child who was abused by her family therapist as well as her parents, and has now released the book, The House of My Mother. She has played a big part in the new law that just passed that requires family vloggers in Utah to keep a large percentage of the earnings in a trust. Not a large percent, it's 15%. 15% of the earnings is better than zero, but 15% of earnings in a trust for the children. And the church isn't going to like that for some reasons that I personally believe.
Why don't we get the money?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of like, I feel like they might be a little mad their tithings are getting chipped away at. But I also think that the look of it is so bad because so many of their members are the parents who are abusing the kids that they're not fighting it. They're not stopping the law from passing. Sherry, along with myself, separately, I don't know Sherry, but we're both not as interested in the law that's giving. We're glad. I think I can't speak for her, but I'm glad that there is movement that the kids are receiving some payment. But ultimately, both Sherry and I separately wish that they can make a law that will ban vlogging in general of children. Hopefully that will happen at some point, but at least we're getting some pushback. We have yet to see if families will start to move out of Utah in order to maximize the profits. So this is basically what this law in Utah is pushing forward.
Republican Governor Spencer Cox signed a law that gives kids a way to remove media they featured from the internet. It also orders parents who make more than $150,000 off of the content annually to set aside 15% of those earnings into a trust fund that the children can access once they turn 18 years old.
So if you heard that beginning part, that's also a new addition to this law that kids are going to be able to have the right to legally the parents will be forced to pull the child content off of as soon as they turn 18 and over. If they say, Mom, take my videos off of the internet that you're making money off of, they have to legally do that.
Wow. I mean, I wish it could be done earlier, but you're right, a step ahead. Imagine being 14 and you're just like, fuck, Mom's in my room again. No, I don't want to show my bra. Come
gross.
on.
It's absolutely disgusting.
And then you just get pushed in a cactus, like if you say no.
Yeah. That's not even an exaggeration, is it, Amber? So, yeah, it's steps in the right direction. It still is vile to me that a kid doesn't have any say in that until they turn 18. And this is only in Utah, by the way. So in many states, there is still no regulation whatsoever for those kids. But beyond that, it's not just the individual parents who are looking at society's most vulnerable members, the kids, and seeing big dollar signs. Beyond the major companies who are happy to ignore the ethical concerns of monetizing a child going to the bathroom or trying on training bras for the camera, something that I didn't understand when we started to look into these channels was the disproportionate amount of them that are devout LDS families. And that's a big old wait, what? Why? How? What's going on? This is not something that is immediately apparent when casually consuming family vlogging content. Because, for example, if a traditional family who is from an Amish world is being filmed, that would be abundantly clear by how they looked. If a conservative fundamentalist like an IFB or an IBLP family like the Duggars is being filmed, and to be clear, there are a number of those families who are trying to gain a following, you'd notice right away because there's, the out of fashion like prairie dresses.
Long denim skirts, with the big bangs.
25 crosses throughout the house, like that kind of thing.
I think with this this mommy vlogging push and these family pushes for conservatism, I was listening to Prince this morning and thinking, could this be out today? I don't think it could.
Which prince?
Which prince? Oh, tonight we're gonna party like it's 1999. It seems so like innocuous, but he's like sexy. I think he says, I'm not a woman, I'm not a man, I'm something you'll never understand. I don't think that could come out today.
I mean, I definitely think a lot of things that came out before would be called satanic and evil by a wider like swath of people because of the political interference that's gone on in our country. But yeah, I think it probably would have always been protested, but I feel like it would be more like the prairie skirt wearing people. And now it's like a much wider pool.
It's a wider pool. And I think it's a lot because of these conservative family mommy vlogs. We're so puritanical, we don't even know it until something from outside comes in and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Whoa.
I definitely think that they have a hand. Absolutely. Whether or not they even know that they're doing it, right? Because they are also, in a way, being controlled. Their entire lives are controlled.
Yeah.
But Mormon vloggers, it's a lot harder to gauge that they are because they don't play those sort of I'm wearing a Little House on the Prairie outfit.
No, they don't even show their magical undergarments.
Well, sometimes they're not wearing them. They have sleek mom bobs. They wear expensive jewelry. They even sometimes wear sleeveless shirts.
Bitch.
I know. Can you imagine? I have included here, Amber, in our script, 17 photos.
These are a lot of families. Pristine families. Very lovely. Isn't there this one Mormon vlogger? She always wears like a workout outfit with like a tank top and like she's hot, but she was a part of like a sex time.
You just described so many different ones.
Right.
There was a big sex scandal with a group of them, yeah.
But I remember being flabbergasted that she was Mormon, which is insidious. Just tell me.
Yes.
What makes a leader? It's a tough question, but this we know for sure. True leaders lead by example. They take risks and plunge into life with determination. And for real leaders, there's a symbol of high adrenaline and high achievement, the Range Rover Sport. The Range Rover Sport redefines sporting luxury with a dramatic modern design that meets a distinctive sporting character. And a well-appointed cabin brings a sense of occasion to every drive. The active noise cancellation feature filters out unwanted sound, making the cabin a cocoon-like sanctuary. Optional PM 2.5 filtration reduces odors, bacteria, and allergens, while CO2 management enhances the wellness of everyone on board. Plus, you can curate the mood of every journey with configurable cabin lighting and bring a hint of refinement to every drive with optional 22-way adjustable, heated and ventilated electric memory front seats with massage function. Build your Range Rover Sport at rangerover.com/US/sport. That's rangerover.com/US/sport.
Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's, and My Lowe's Pro Rewards members can save even more with limited time deals. Right now, buy one, get one half off select HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams primer and ceiling paint. Plus, get free same-day delivery to your job site when you order by 2 p.m. Offer valid through 6/13, delivery by 8 p.m., subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Yes, it is absolutely insidious. Let's talk a little bit about why that is. So these photos I've attached, this is 17 different family photos that I've put into the script. You see they are all kind of doing the same sort of look. They love, love standing in fields.
Love standing in fields. I really hate the one with the dad and all the kids around him because it takes a second or third look to be like, oh, that's the wife, because it looks like a daughter.
Well, they all also dress exactly the same as their parents, which is really interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, so they love standing in fields, standing in a field. Everyone a pregnant standing in a field. So they do these sort of, big photo shoots. It has a very specific look to it. These 17 families that I've posted here in this script, this is a selection of only LDS family vloggers who use their children as prominent features of their content and have at least several 100,000 followers, but many of them have millions of followers who I've attached into this script. And to be clear, this is just a little scraping off the top of the LDS family vlogger family roster.
Right. I'm sure there's plenty with like 15 followers. They're like, come get ready with me.
Or even 10,000 followers. You know what I mean? Like, that's still considered small for family vloggers in this community because of how massive Some of them are. Like, you know, 5-10 million followers. I mean, Ruby Franke had 2 million, I think, at her peak.
Damn, I got to start having kids.
No, Amber.
In a field.
This is the wrong message. Yeah, no, it's everybody's just like, oh my God, there's a lot of money in this.
Yeah.
Not the point I hope to get across with this episode. Now, if you look at these pictures on somebody's wall in their home, and I'm sure all of you out there listening can imagine this picture. It's beautiful. It's like soft lens. They're all holding hands.
Smiling.
They're wearing matching shirts. Everyone looks very ethereal and happy. You saw that on a wall in somebody's house, you'd probably say, oh, wow, this is beautiful. What a nice, they look so nice and they seem so happy. That's really, wow, look at that. That's quite an accomplishment. But these aren't on somebody's wall or even on their, you know, personal social media Facebook page. There's a reason I have all of these photos. It's because they're not just documenting their family and being proud. Each of these family photos is equivalent to a business logo. This is a product. This is not to say that these parents don't love their children. I'm sure they do. I even think personally, Ruby Franke, she loves her children in a way that
what she understands love to be.
Yes. Like, I don't know if she can ever access love personally, but
like true, unconditional, I will die for you kind of love.
Yeah.
It's more like, I love you because I want to, quote unquote, keep you safe.
Yes, totally. So I think, and I don't think all of these parents are Ruby Franke, but they are using a formula very similar to her. But again, there's a reason I have these family photos downloaded to my computer. Like a weirdo, because a lot of people do. People undoubtedly have them saved as their personal desktop photo background. They have them printed out on their walls. Some of these families sell merch of their children's faces.
Ew.
The people who buy those shirts know where the child sleeps, what health conditions they have, what foods they don't like, what they're afraid of, their birthdays, their shoe sizes, what they look like when they cry. And at first glance, you know, when these families are starting out in the social media realm, especially 5-10 years ago, these parents are really proud of their kids and their family. And they're most likely not thinking about how these choices might affect their kids when they start doing this. But they do eventually understand, especially nowadays. They know because they'll figure it out when they get their first stalker or their first sex offender tries to reach out to their 8-year-old or sends a picture of their genitals to their family account. When someone shows up at their kid's school and they have to pull them out and homeschool them, or when anonymous people start calling CPS on them.
If it's a business and you're making this much money, you understand the ins and outs and the cogs of the business machine. Mm-hmm. So you know how many older single men have saved photos of your daughter. Don't play dumb with me.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's really, really important to remember, especially people who want to defend these parents. You have to gaslight yourself to the point where it's like you'd be looking at a train wreck and going, it's so nice out today. Wow. Wow, the weather is just, the breeze is beautiful. Just meanwhile, people are like screaming 500 feet away. So that is the level they have to lie to themselves. And they're aware. They get weird stuff sent to them all the time. They know what's happening. They also just realize money's coming in and they rationalize it. And there's none of them who don't know who the audience is. You know what I mean? But people envy them. That's got to be intoxicating. The immense flow of money must be intoxicating. But what does this all have to do with Mormonism? And why is there such a large portion of these family vloggers who are LDS? There isn't a quick and easy answer, but there are some theories that have pretty sturdy legs. When I say theories, I also mean like what we've heard. The church just openly says go do vlogs and get people. But there's some more niche reasons that people might believe that the church is kind of helping these accounts along. So let's break it down a little bit. Why the LDS is so prevalent in this sphere and why them being there is so insidious.
All right.
So I mentioned the sleeveless shirts and you mentioned the, athleisure ladies.
I mean, she was in like a full, I remember a brown spandex outfit, camel toe out, and she was dancing and singing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, girl, get it. And talking about all of her kids. I was like, all right. And then somebody said, you're Mormon. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I guess Mormonism is like fun now. This is before we started the series. It's like, oh, I guess it's fun and cool now.
Yeah.
I even thought about joining for a flat second.
Oh, my God.
And
no.
so, like, if it almost got me, I wonder what it could do to other people.
Yeah.
I was literally like, she's hot. I want to be hot. And I know that's pretty stupid, pretty boo.
Well, I mean, that's what they do. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
And I have to be in full transparency. I've never watched this, but I mean, it's probably the same women who are on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. That's a hugely popular show right now, and it describes young Mormon couples' lives, and they're not necessarily adhering to a lot of the principles and doctrines, but are still kind of promoting Mormonism because they talk. If you are in the church, it is a part of your day-to-day life every single day.
That's just so weird because if I was promoting Southern Baptism, I wouldn't be wearing a crop top and Spanx with my camel toe out.
Well, that's why Southern Baptist doesn't have $200 billion, Amber.
Damn, we're dumb as hell.
So what do you think? You get integrity? Get out of here. That's not what pays the bills.
Get out of here. Yeah, no one's going to join the Southern Baptist Church if it shows you what it really is like.
Yeah.
It's just a preacher being like, you women got to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a harder sell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's the big deal with the sleeveless shirts? Well, we're just talking about faithful members of the LDS Church who've achieved their temple endowments, which is what most devoted married LDS adults do, are supposed to wear garments pretty much all the time, save a very few couple of situations. You're supposed to have them on at all time. We've talked about garments and endowments in previous episodes, and we'll talk about them a little bit here. You also can go listen to former members for really deep analysis, and also, of course, American Zion, No Man Knows My History are great jumping off points if you want to learn more about this. But the quick and dirty is that garments are magic underpants that are supposed to symbolize that you've done all the things you're supposed to do as a Mormon to become gods and goddesses in the next lifetime.
That's true. It's harder to masturbate when you got long underwear on.
Do you think that's partly why they do it?
Yeah.
Keep yourself from... I mean, they've made them two-piece now, which makes it a lot easier, but for a long time, they were one long piece.
You got a lot to take off. Sometimes I'm laying around in bed and I got pants on. I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling frisky. But I was like, I don't feel like taking my pants off. I think that's why they have the underwear.
Are you wearing full pants in bed, like jeans?
No, like sweatpants.
Wow, not even sweatpants, huh? They're made for masturbating.
Yeah, you're right. I should come more on top of them.
But they're magic underpants. They're holy clothing, which is not a new concept. Many religions have some version of undergarments or head coverings or, specific symbols that they wear all the time. It's just that the Latter-day Saints stuff is relatively new, and so it can just be traced back a few generations, and I think it just makes it more silly, kind of. That makes sense. When things are so steeped in tradition from, 1,000 years ago, it seems less silly to me.
Right. Also, 1,000 years ago, they had, like, Catholic nun bones with, like, diamonds encrusted in them. That's a little different than magic underwear.
Can they sell that on Etsy? Because I would buy one.
Fuck yeah.
So they keep, and also I think one of the other things about watching it happen almost in real time, because the religion is so new, is that you see in real time them moving the goalposts, where originally they were like, this is it, you must do this. If you don't, you're going to be smited, you're going to lose everything. And then every so often they changed the underwear a little bit to be more convenient to fashion.
Right. And it's literally like 5 years ago. You're like, but wait a minute.
Yeah. Shout out to the creator, the Tomsters, for this very funny 10-second TikTok.
You know what? Show me those shoulders.
I just love the idea of God just sitting in a lazy chair eating chips.
What kind of chips does God eat? Do you think God's more of a Doritos Cool Ranch or Doritos nacho cheese kind of person?
Yuck. I mean, it makes more sense for him to be Cool Ranch because there's less orange dust, and it's like he's always wearing white, right?
Yeah, I guess because it's blue and that's the sky, and then red's hell. So is that what the devil
that's
eats?
why. I guess that's why I like nacho cheese ones, because I'm evil.
We figured it out.
Yeah. So. Yes, that is all to say that the garments have changed a lot since they first, popped on the scene. It was first traced back to the mid-1830s when Joseph had instructed the apostles on when they started making their rituals up with the oils. They're basic religious stuff. They're like, here's a ceremony to make you more special. Here's some oils I'm rubbing on you, doing all this. And then Joseph put his own flair on it in the 1840s, where he began practicing what is known as the Nauvoo experiment. And the long and short, complex understanding of this history is that there is a very clear indication that much like L. Ron Hubbard took some of his rituals from Scientology from occultism, Joseph Smith took many of LDS's rituals from Freemasonry. Masonry in general was super popular at the time, and his own brother had joined in on this fraternity. So he would have had a front row seat to many of the little chants and handshakes, which he then implemented into the beginnings of the LDS Church. And yeah, there's many essayists who have talked about the connections. There's a guy named David John Biergier who points out, you don't have to read it, I'm just going to, who points out the connections to Masonry and LDS Church beginning to kind of overlap, because a lot of people in the early Americas were getting kind of like uninterested in traditional church, the whole reason the country started. And so Masonry kind of focuses more on science and enlightenment in that way. And technically, Joseph Smith kind of implemented some of that in the original church. It was different than other Christian churches. And
if there's like a secret handshake, you feel like, oh, we're secret in on this. Mm-hmm. We're like a part of a little gang here.
And he definitely that's something Freemasons do really well. And he jumped on that. And so anyway, garments were first introduced in the 1840s, and they were sort of akin to the underclothing at the time, which is to say they could be worn without looking terribly out of place. The original garments also had symbols on them representing different things. And as time and fashion changed over the next few decades, the garments, which had gone from being something only the apostles wore to something all faithful members who go through the endowments wore, became more noticeable and awkward. As fashion changed, they were like these big floppy things underneath their clothes. So that's to say the church's stance for many years was that regardless of how fashion changed, if you alter the style of those undergarments, it would be sacrilege. You cannot change them. But yeah, like most hardline stances traditional religions take, when the members start moving on from the church, they're like, whoa, wait, I got a call. I got a call from God. He said, actually, go ahead, show them shoulders. But the shoulders didn't come in for another 100 years. But they slowly sort of just started making them a little smaller and smaller over the years so they could kind of be more and more comfortably. And, the sitting presidents would say, I've received another note, and post-it note saying, another inch can go.
That means maybe there's infighting in the actual Mormon church, like some more sort of conservative elder Mormons.
I'm sure there is.
These kids these days showing their shoulders. Ugh.
Makes me. Why do they want me to molest them so much? Yeah, I'm sure there is. I think actually any healthy organization should have arguing, right? If everybody's like, yes, sir, no, sir, then that becomes fascism.
That's right.
Finding the music you love shouldn't be hard. That's why Pandora makes it easy to explore all your favorites and discover new artists and genres you'll love. Enjoy a personalized listening experience simply by selecting any song or album, and we'll make a station crafted just for you. Best of all, you can listen for free. Download Pandora on the Apple App Store or Google Play and start hearing the soundtrack to your life.
DQ presents How to Hit Summer's Sweet Spot. The new DQ Summer Blizzard Treat menu is here. And as the official treat of MLB, we're swinging big with our fan-favorite S'mores Blizzard Treat. Plus, new mixing bowl mashup with brownie batter and chocolate chip cookie dough. And even more in our Stack Summer lineup. Hurry in today because nothing says summer like baseball and our new Summer Blizzard Treat menu. Right now at DQ. Happy tastes good. Participation may vary. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
Yeah, so around the 1920s, Herbert J. Grant, one of the presidents, he got a page. It said 911, call me ASAP from God, and God said, kick him up, make him a little higher, show him thighs. And so it kind of helped people stay in the church longer. It made it more convenient for them to keep members. And if you'll recall, the top is the quorum, which is that collection of stinky old white guys who kind of serve as the board. This is the current lineup. they're all very old. They kind of have the same look about them.
Yeah, this definitely triggers my fight or flight reflexes. Just looking at these men. Who's the guy on the bottom left in that big, hey? He's making that kind of face.
Oh, what is that guy? I do know that guy's name. Damn it.
He just has the weirdest look out of all of them. I mean, they all look very weird. They look like somebody my mom would be like, now go say hello to Uncle Tittums.
Go sit on his lap.
Go sit on his lap. And I'd be like, I don't like it. My mom would be like, then you don't have to sit on his lap.
Come here, little girl. You come here and you say hello to me. Come here.
Yeah. Daddy's home.
Yeah.
Daddy's home. What was that in like the last election? There was a lot of like, Daddy's home and he's going to pull his belt off and whip his little girl. There was a lot of those kind of speeches of Daddy's home. Yeah. Why was that? Just misogyny?
I think that maybe a little bit also those people feel very impotent in life and out of control of things, and they just want a grown-up to tell them what to do, even if it's really bad advice.
That's right.
It's gross. Definitely gross. So, yeah, the quorum is the one who decides all these things. So, 1923 marked the beginning of these alterations getting shorter and shorter. And you can kind of see some illustrations of them. I have some linked here. They go from like long johns to shorter john. What is a long john called that's just short?
Short john.
Short johns.
I like the 1923 one where they have a little pocket for your penis to come out.
Got to. I mean, you can't take them off. You got to keep them on.
So you got to pee?
Yeah, you can't take them off to go to the bathroom.
To go take a shower at least, though,
You're
right?
You're allowed to shower without them on. And eventually, I don't know when, but you're allowed to swim without them.
It's just now hitting me. I'm sorry because you've been saying it over and over again that you have to keep these things on. And as I'm looking at it, I would scream and freak out and cry. I can't have things on my body. I sleep naked. Mm-hmm. I would honestly prefer to be naked. And, gosh darn Adam and Eve and their apple, like why we got to put these things on. To have like clothing constantly just like touching my skin, I would stim out. I would crash out.
Yeah, I don't mean to get all like I'm overstimulated on it, but I also would. I'm very sensory-ish. I can't have when two fabrics are rubbing on each other on my body.
Or like when one shoelace is tighter than the other. Mm-hmm. No way.
Or if I get one sock wet and the other one isn't, I feel like I'm going to go insane and like I have to make the other sock wet.
Yeah.
Like if I step in water.
Or take them both off.
Take them both off. And
or like when you have two shirts on and one's underneath and it's like rolled up.
I hate it.
That's like this the whole time.
Ugh.
Is anybody, there's got to be autistic people in this church.
Of course there are.
Who are just the whole time like, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it.
That's interesting, Emma, because I don't know off the top of my head what their belief system is regarding autism. I mean, they do believe in modern medicine to an extent, so I would hope that they would accept autistic people for themselves. But again, it's such a rigid lifestyle, unless you're an influencer, that I would feel kind of bad for.
Well, I guess they wouldn't know the freedom of being naked, so they would just think like life is being uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
Ugh. Yeah, no, I would stem the fuck out in this. Now that I'm like fully getting it, and I know you've shown this to me a million times.
No, I get it.
It's settling in.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable looking to me. And I think a lot of people have been very public about how uncomfortable they are to them as well. And if you look at what garments look like, which you can see easily on the internet if you want to look them up yourselves out there, when you look at these photos of these family vloggers, family influencers who are in the church, the kids, first off, they wouldn't be old enough to be wearing garments, so that's not an issue. But many of the parents clearly are not wearing them in the pictures. Though I'm sure some of them are and are managing to cover them with modest clothing. And also wearing those big ass hats kind of distracts you from like looking for the garments, I think. So yeah, oh my God, why are we talking about garments? Shut up, Natalie. Why are we harping on this? Well, this is one of the many subtle manipulations going on in these photos and in these family vlogs. Do I think that all of these family vloggers got together in a temple with the elders and made a plot of how to screw over the plebes? No. However, while there's no real way to affirm this unless the government raids the church for financial crimes or a whistleblower kind of shows up to leak documents, there's evidence that leans towards the idea that the church is using tithing money to fund these influencers in a deep cover advertisement campaign in order to get new members.
Oh, like paying for bots and stuff?
That, and also what we'll get into, I'm going to explain it as succinctly as I can. It's a very sort of complicated explanation if you're not already an influencer, but let's give it a shot. So these popular vlogging families are held in a high regard in their community, and people are obsessed with them. That is, secular, out of the church people, but also people inside the church, many of whom are also trying to launch their own influencer family channels. Because when I say that many of these influencer families are wealthy, I mean they are fuck you rich. They are step over you in the street rich. They are wiping their tears with $100 bills rich. And that's something that a lot of people want to get at any cost. And there's a very interesting reason that these influencers may be this wealthy. Yes, they do get high views from the way they look. And yes, that is directly connected to the church, how they look. If you listen to any number of ex-Mormons speak on their experiences, especially women, they are conditioned from birth by their community to speak in soft and dulcet tones. Mm-hmm.
Oh, kind of like, who's that lady? Today I decided to come and make
Nara Smith.
Yeah, my homemade chicken broth.
Yeah. I mean, I would even go so far as to say a big trend on TikTok and stuff with the softly speaking voice when they're doing the voiceovers is probably partially influenced by the Mormon women.
That makes me freak out. And when they tap on the product with their nails, makes me freak the fuck out. And when it's talking like this, I want to throw my phone across the room.
I think that there probably is some influence from the Mormon community. Not necessarily consciously, but I think subconsciously they've infiltrated. I think that has partly to do with them. So, yes, they are conditioned to speak in that way, and they are conditioned to maintain white Western beauty standards. Don't worry, we're going to get into a whole other section on how they're uplifting white supremacy. But these families are coached in every way by the church to adhere to strict, suffocating sets of guidelines to be visually appealing.
I want to scream. Natalie. I could to wear these covering clothes, and you got to speak like this.
And be very thin.
No, what if I have a big fucking fat woman inside me that wants to scream and tell me to fuck off?
Well,
and here I am. I want to go skydiving.
I guess you don't care about your family floating around in darkness for eternity.
It's suffocating.
It's very suffocating.
This is why you go crazy.
Yes, I agree. So they're encouraged to stay very thin. They're encouraged to get plastic surgery. They are encouraged to maintain this idea of what you're supposed to look like. It has zero personality, because I'm not anti-surgery. I'm not anti-doing whatever you want to your body. But do they actually ever consider what they may want?
No, it's like a wild animal and then putting a girdle on it and a bridle and tying it to a stake. And it's just it's whipping around. It's a wild horse. And it's get me out of here. Get me out of here. And it's no, we got to break the horse.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
For sure. I mean, that was literally Jesse Hildebrandt's experience with a Mormon bishop who was watching them be mouth taped shut in church. They said that a bishop said that it was good because they were being tamed like a horse.
I would shave my head and get a gun. Yeah. Absolutely.
They'd be fine with the gun part. Not the shaving head, though. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so that isn't visually appealing to a lot of people. Their image is not appealing to me, but many of the people who have had disordered lives or upbringings, they're brought to peace by these kind of vlog channels. I mean, I guess I could say that to an extent about when I used to watch the Duggars. It wasn't that I found peace from them, but it did feel like I assume opium feels like, when you're laying in a den.
Yeah.
Where you're just these people just don't really have to do much, and they don't think about much, and they seem like they're not tormented, but they are.
Yeah.
This is the whole surprise secret.
I think that's what a lot of stay-at-home algorithm stuff does now, because I've spoken to a few younger women, Gen Z women, and they're like, oh, I just want to be a stay-at-home wife. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But they have this TikTok influence of it's just going to be soft life. Mm-hmm. And baby, no, you're going to grow out a mustache and be screaming with a wooden spoon in your hand. That's a stay-at-home mom.
You're also putting yourself, without any form of escape plan, you're putting yourself in extreme danger, because you, especially when you get married young, you don't always know your spouse very well until you're deep.
They're kind of being lied to.
They're absolutely being lied to. I mean, but that is part of this mommy vlogging world, especially connected to the LDS church. And I don't think that they're all intentionally trying to manipulate people in that way. But if you look like even at Ruby Frankie's siblings, they're still doing their family vlogging. And I don't know that they even understand the world outside of themselves, because even though they are vlogging at the world, they're not of the world, right?
Right.
Wait, they're in the world, but not of the world.
Yes, because worldliness is considered a sin.
They don't mind monetizing off of it.
Of course not.
Yeah. So they're not really fully aware of their actions, I think, in a lot of ways. And it makes sense why Mormon values in general would be able to be sold as their own. Each of these families is like their own little 50s sitcom, their own little Leave It to Beavers. The parents never have to worry about paycheck to paycheck, and the children never hear a raised voice. Of course, that's not true, but they're selling that idea at the expense of these children. So how is the church bankrolling this? They can't just go hand these families a check. That would be a lot of liability, and the paper trail's really short in that way. And they do, of anything they know how to do finance.
Yeah.
The church is very, very good at finance. And like all churches in this country, they are untaxed. And the implementation of tithings is the most important part of your salvation in the next planet life that you have. You have to pay your tithings off, or you are screwed over. You're not getting there, okay? So they are very wealthy, as we've talked about before when we've covered the financial aspect of it. Doesn't really cut it calling them wealthy. They're a conglomerate. They own stocks, real estate, land, priceless art, artifacts. They bought a mall.
My bank is in Utah. I had no idea. This is something I'll put in like a little bit of money just in case I get like an oh my God. And it's one of those accounts where it just sits there. And the longer it sits there, the more money you acquire. It's one of those rich people tips.
Sure.
And they're a Mormon bank. And they're a big bank. I had no idea, Natalie. So
that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Money and insidious stuff they have.
Yeah. And I think it's good for us to just check in about an organization I've covered that is really a good thing that's happening that I feel like you should also, as the listener, go check out. Yeah, so it's the Widow's Mite, spelled MITE.org. They have just recently released the findings for 2024, and as of the end of 2024, the Widow's Mite estimates through exhaustive research that they cite, that you can go look through, they estimate the amount that the church is sitting on, which is the reserve, their extra cash, is around $206 billion. That's up significantly from $157 billion in 2022. So in 2 years, they went from 157 to $206 billion.
And these are in the billions. So what's 157 minus 206? 8, 9, 60.
Oh, God.
I don't know. That's in the billions, though, they made.
Oh, yeah.
Billions.
Many billions. Yeah.
They probably just had it. You know what? They probably did sitting in one of them banks I got, except I put in $50. They put in $1 billion.
Sure. You're not part of the problem, Emma. Don't worry.
I fucking wish I was part of this problem. Give me $1 billion.
No, $1 billion makes you evil. Like literally, I don't know if there's a single good billionaire that's ever existed. I try so hard to try to find good visuals, and I know a lot of people try to do this to try to show you the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. It is so they shouldn't even sound like similar numbers.
They do sound similar, but it's like a grain of rice versus a bag of rice.
Not even like
sack.
A room of rice.
Yeah. Is
the difference. Yeah. And so all this money coming in, they must be doing so much to help the world. But that's not really the case. So the giving to church people in need, right, last year was estimated at $890 million, which sounds good on its own, right? And the humanitarian aid is estimated at about $560 million. So that's over $1 billion. And that's fine, except when you look at what they're raking in. So they are supposed to be a charitable organization, a non-taxed place, a place for the tired and the meek to come and be with the Spirit, right? So of the money they have, they're giving away. This is like if you went to the Salvation Army bell ringers on Christmas and they collected $265 in donations, and then they gave over $1 of that and said, here's for the charity and the rest is for overhead costs. That's what they're doing. It's obviously more complicated than that, but it's the basic idea.
The overhead costs, it's a gold bidet.
Oh, yeah. Their overhead costs, very fancy overhead costs they have.
I get that, like, you want everything to look nice. If you make the money, you want it to look nice. You want it clean and presentable. But there's got to be a way that everybody can be better in this. If you're a poor Mormon, that you would be taken care of.
Well, they shouldn't be having to give 10% of their income every year, because that's where a lot of this money started, was poor people's salaries. That's why they have gold bidets. And then, of course, Ensign P came in, quadrupled their money. And I should also note that before Ensign Peak, whistleblowers came forward in 2019, their humanitarian aid was less than $100 million. And so they were caught. And now they give more, around $500, $600 million.
So they're only giving because they're caught.
And it's still a tiny little fraction of what they make.
Damn, can you imagine making hourly at, like, say you work at the dollar store and that's a hard job, you know? You're dealing with a lot of people every day and, like, big boxes to stock. What's it, like $20 an hour? 15?
I mean, maybe. I don't know what minimum wage is here right now, but I know what it is to work a minimum wage job.
Yeah, it's hard work. And then now you got to donate that money. In and of itself is hard to live on. And now you got to give to the church.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
So you can go to heaven?
Yes. You buy your way in.
Because this life is supposed to be suffering and the next life is heaven.
Yes.
That is one of the biggest cons.
It is. Absolutely.
This life is suffering and next life is heaven.
Yeah. It's, some would say, evil. But anyway, if you guys ever want to try to look at this visually, there's a website called Engaging Data that covers how rich Elon Musk is compared to other things in visual aids. It will shatter your idea of, like, what money is.
Is this why all of these, like, tech oligarch bros are becoming religious? It's just because there's money in it? Because they're all, like, you would think that the cell phone guys wouldn't be religious because it's tech that in and of itself. But they're all like, no, we got to worship God. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like they pair well together. But when you look at the money, they do.
Yeah, I think that that's a big problem with American religion in general since, forever, but definitely after TV came in, because there's no taxes, and that is going to just naturally draw con artists to it. Now that's mostly what mega churches are, con artists.
Because, like, Peter Thiel, one of the richest guys in the world, he's very, very Christian.
But also gay, but also doesn't support gay marriage.
Yeah, I don't understand. All right, let's keep going on with this.
So, okay, we're going to wrap it up. I know this was a lot of information at once. I know we're just like blah, 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 blah. But this money that they have, a lot of it goes into advertising for their church.
Oh, like the Super Bowl commercials and whatnot?
So they have a lot. And the long and short of it is, I'm going to play you a clip of an ex-Mormon mother / commentator, and her name's Alessa Grenfield. She's great. She kind of breaks down why she believes the church is funding these vloggers and how.
Different niches, different types of content on the internet make different amounts of money. That depending on the type of content you make, you're going to make different amounts of money. For example, anything to do with money and finance makes a lot more money than a video about cooking. The reason for this is that the money that you make off your content is driven by how much advertisers are willing to pay for it. Banks, for example, have a lot of money, and so they can drive a ton of money into advertising. If someone is watching content about what bank accounts to open, banks are hoping to steal those people's eyes and say, oh, maybe I'll open a bank with Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, whatever. However, if you made a video about something like cooking, the length of the video could be the same, the person in the video could be the same, but depending on the content, you're getting paid a wildly different amount of money for the type of content you're posting. Ultimately, there's a lot more money in finance and credit cards and bank accounts than there is in making spaghetti. It's not about virality necessarily. It's also about how much advertisers are willing to pay to advertise over top your content. When you get paid by TikTok or by YouTube or by Pinterest, it's not because you showed a product, it's because you got a certain number of views and because advertisers were willing to pay to have advertisements over top of your videos. A major way that Google and other advertisers figures out where to put ads is through something called keywords. So these keywords will be something like credit card or open bank account that signal to the algorithm, to the ad algorithm, that you've made content that aligns with what advertisers are looking for. So if you have a dog, you look at a lot of dog content, then Google AdSense can say, okay, this person consumes a lot of dog content. We have advertisers who have pet foods and leashes, and they want to say, okay, anytime someone uses the word dog, we want you to attach an ad nearby or somewhere on the internet that this person will encounter that's going to make them click on it. If you recall, we have these two groups, Mormon mommies, and we have the church, lots of money, and the church needs to figure out how to get its money into the hands of these women or these influencers without creating a PR nightmare. So Google AdSense and other ad platforms are going to act as the intermediary that allows the church to funnel money into these influencers' hands while remaining completely anonymous, or at least mostly anonymous. Let me show you what I discovered. Let's bring it back to the Mormon Church. While you can't see who these advertisers are spending on this ad revenue, you can see how much they're spending by using certain tools. I'm going to use a tool today called Ubersuggest. This allows me to see how much advertisers are spending to put ad revenue behind a certain key term. I can't see who is spending the money, but I can see how much they're willing to spend. So the keyword Catholic, if you wanted to advertise over the keyword Catholic, it would cost about $3.58. So if I was making content about the Catholic Church, some of that $3.58 is going to get routed my way because I'm making content about this specific keyword. You can see here on the spectrum that $3.58 is kind of the low end for what advertisers are willing to pay. If you look at the term Baptist, the cost per click is $1.26. I tried looking up a religion that's a little closer to Mormonism. Jehovah's Witness is an American religion. If you want to advertise using the key term Jehovah's Witness, it's going to cost you $4.64. So you see all of these are under $5. They're all fairly low, especially when we compare it to that high benchmark of New Bank at about $25. Now let's look up the cost for advertising on the term Mormon, because that is what is at the heart of this whole conversation. So I want you to just put in your head a guess. If, Catholic is $3.58, if Jehovah's Witness is $4.64, just guess how much money it costs to advertise. What's the average ad spend around the keyword term Mormon? Drum roll, please. The cost per click for the term Mormon is $24.71. And if you recall, the Mormon Church has more money than Wells Fargo. And so that number is huge. That number is a finance key term level of ad spend. And the reason that that number is so high, I believe, is because there is a multi-billion-dollar organization that is funneling money into ad spend around the term Mormon. If you've ever been to a website where it says enable cookies, you click the thing, enable cookies, why is this pop-up getting in my way? You might go to a blog by Rachel Parcell. It knows she's Mormon. It knows you may be interested in the fact that she's Mormon. And just by the fact that she has Mormon as part of her Google public persona, she's gonna see, I believe, some of this ad revenue that comes from this high cost per click on the keyword term Mormon.
So that is all to say, the long and short of it is that LDS family vloggers get paid an unusually high dollar amount per view compared to other similar kinds of content. So other religious content, for example. So we can't prove this just from this theory because it's a theory, But at the end of the day, no matter whether the church is meddling with the ad dollars, LDS vlogger families get to take a lot of liberties that most members don't, and those liberties manipulate the public, and it is still subliminal advertising. For the most part, LDS families take, again, we were just talking about the in the world, not of the world mantra, which I personally find incredibly ironic since they're exposing their children and saying, but we're just not of the world, but they're showing the world their children to make money. But it's not, we're not in it.
That's so
We're
crazy.
just profiting off of it.
And they just make more and more money and it gets more and more advertised. That's why everybody's so like buttoned up right now. Meanwhile, if you play Raspberry Beret, that's satanic, that's demonic. But like showing your kids on camera,
yeah, like
that's fine.
Yeah. It is. We're losing the plot, I think, a lot. And I think it's also important to point out that while many of these kids aren't allowed to access things like the internet, use social media, have private friendships with people outside of the church, not always, but a lot of families, while that's all happening, they can't access the outside world. Their most intimate moments are being used for capturing money and new converts. And it's true that they are converting people, even if there's a small amount. Ruby herself, before she was imprisoned, with tears in her eyes, has talked about publicly about how people come up to her on the street or send her letters about how her videos made them turn to God, and now they're getting baptized into the LDS church because of her family. And this of the world, not in the world, but making choices for the world extends beyond family vlogging, unfortunately. Through Ruby's channel, we met Jody Hildebrandt. But alongside Jody, other influential LDS members have infiltrated secular leadership worlds, a lot of it due to the power of the internet and social media. So they're kind of dancing in this world of I'm not of the world, but I'm making all the choices for the world, which is why I always said, you know, whenever Ruby Franke was caught on that video crying about how her daughter school was making her dance to Flow Ride Is Low and she had never heard the song before. You don't have to like the song Flow Ride Is Low, but you have to have at least heard it in order to make societal decisions. I'm just saying that's what I'm putting down on the gauntlet, okay? If you're going to be that removed from culture and society, you shouldn't be making choices for other people.
Right. Like it's okay to be that removed, but go ahead and be that removed. Right. Go make your homemade milk or whatever you do. Don't tell me what to do.
Yes, exactly. And don't tell people that they're evil and wrong and doing bad when you don't even understand the world you live inside of. But that's not how it's working out. So Jody, she is one of many people in this therapeutic wellness kind of scary last days world that is connected to the LDS church. And we learned of Jody through these influence families, but that's just scratching the surface of this whole ball of corruption inside of this wellness community. And so we're going to stop here for this week. I'm going to leave you with another Alyssa Grenfell quote. This is not from an interview we did. I'd love to speak to her if anybody knows how to get in contact with her. But this is her speaking out as an ex-Mormon and a mother about what she feels when she watches these LDS families being vlogged. I'd like to conclude this episode with another Alyssa Grenfell take. I highly recommend you watch her content generally for more insight. As an ex-Mormon and a mother herself, I really hope people both inside the LDS church and without who are considering vlogging their minor children online will take her words to heart.
Seeing Chad exploited is really sad because it feels like I'm looking at my own children, because you can't really watch this type of stuff and it doesn't impact you. And maybe I'm just like an ultra sensitive person, but to see children treated this way and to see parents so callously just saying, yeah, I exploited my children, it's unspeakable. And maybe because while I don't really believe in sacred things in a religious sense anymore, if there's one thing I believe that is sacred, it's children. And so I think putting your children online is something that very much disrespects their autonomy, their personhood. I do not believe children can consent or understand the consequences of what it is to be online. I often see people posting pictures of their kids in front of their house. The idea that you would let people know where your kids live is idiocy. I'm sorry, but if you're posting a viral video of your kids in front of your house, you're an idiot. And I'm sorry, and maybe it's not your fault you're an idiot because you haven't been educated, but the things that people do to their kids online is shocking to me. The lack of privacy they allow their own children. And I think that's another irony that I have felt very strongly watching these child family vloggers is, as you all know, there's the Mormon temple. There's the outfits they wear, the chanting they do, the secret garments. Mormons are actually quite good at keeping secrets. They will be quick to tell you that what happens in the temple is too sacred to talk about. And then they'll post a video of their baby in a bath. And that is a shocking level of not comprehending what is sacred. You can keep your church and the temple sacred, but you'll post a picture of your baby in a diaper online. That reveals to me that you don't actually have a moral compass and understand what sacred means.
Coming up next week, the influential image of the LDS family makes up only a portion of the church's stronghold in social media. Wildly popular alternative medicine influencers parading as spiritual hippies now have crossbred into Mormonism. And the holistic wellness community inside of the church harbors some very dark secrets.
Finding the music you love shouldn't be hard. That's why Pandora makes it easy to explore all your favorites and discover new artists and genres you'll love. Enjoy a personalized listening experience simply by selecting any song or album, and we'll make a station crafted just for you. Best of all, you can listen for free. Download Pandora on the Apple App Store or Google Play and start hearing the soundtrack to your life.
Are you having sex with Vyleesi? Well, if you have low sex drive like millions of other women, you might be missing out. Vyleesi, or bremelanotide, is clinically proven to increase sex drive in certain women. It's the first and only FDA-approved, as-needed treatment for low sex drive. Put low sex drive in its place and go to Vyleesi.com for a telemedicine appointment to learn if Vyleesi is right for you. That's VYLEESI.com. Vyleesi is a prescription medicine used to treat hypoactive sexual desire disorder, HSDD, in premenopausal women who have not had problems with low sexual desire in the past and have low sexual desire no matter the type of sexual activity, situation, or partner. The low sexual desire is troubling to them and is not due to medical, mental health, or relationship problems, or medicine or other drug use. Do not use Vyleesi if you have uncontrolled hypertension or known heart disease. The most common side effects include nausea, flushing, injection site reactions, headache, and vomiting. Consult your healthcare professional for more information and see full PI at Vyleesi.com or call 800-922-1038. Go to Vyleesi.com for a telemedicine appointment to find out if Vyleesi is right for you. That's VYLEESI.com.